viewers and great Nigerians, thank you for being our partner watching Living Television. We're back again today, Friday. This is the day we'll bring to you issues of the moment. In today's issues of the moment, we are looking at Abia State and the government of the day. Too many things that happened even before now, and as usual, we have our wonderful analyst, and our analyst will do justice to the topic we're going to present to you, both the panel of inquiry, suspension of permanent secretaries. These and many more we'll be bringing to you today. From my far left today, one of us will be joining us later. From my far left for now, I have St. Moses Obunna. St. Moses Obunna is a practicing lawyer. He's also a philosopher and a human rights activist. Barrister St. Moses Obunna, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
After him, I have Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi. Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi is a historian. Not just a historian, he's also a political affairs analyst and also a tele-evangelist. He's a man who loves dealing with numbers and dates. Comrade, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me join you.
But I have not seen him on his evangelism. He's always a tele-evangelist, but I have not seen him.
He did justice to the name on Easter. They just God Easter. He really tele-evangelized. All right, back on stage today, we are looking at we are going to start with the suspension of permanent secretaries and the HOAs, heads of service. And then from there, we now move into the panel of inquiry that is investigating all the officers that work with the past administration in view to recovering government properties and so on, as stated by the governor through his spokesperson, Mezie Uko. All right, having said that, Governor Alex Oti on Thursday suspended almost all the permanent secretaries and the head of service in the state civil service. It was contended in a statement by the governor's spokesperson, Kazie Uko. Oti explained that the decision followed the inauguration of a judicial panel of inquiry tasked with recovering government properties and funds from the past officials who served under the former governor of the state, that is Dr. Okezie Ikpeazu. We will start with this. And let me start with you, St. Moses Obunna. You are a lawyer and a human rights activist, because one of these suspended permanent secretaries may be consulting you for your service because of the way they were laid off. Now, a permanent secretary is seen as a core civil servant. Is it proper for whatever reason a government that is just coming in to ask them to stay away from their office, though suspended, not sacked for now?
Yes, that is why when you use the grammar, proper, I was worried. It is proper for any government of the day to adopt whatever method or policy he likes to approach governance. You remember that from 1999 up to now, we have not had a situation where another party came into power. What we've been having is PDP all the way, either PDP by name, by hand, or PPA by voice. The same are PDP people. And in fact, I can tell you that from 1999 till now, we've never had another party, so to say, wholesomely, without being people who are fused together, either people leaving one party to the other. For instance, PDP was firstly governed by Obunna. When Ebonyi was created, Ajozokalo came in. No, PDP was Ajozokalo.
Yes.
He was the first. And when he left, before he left, there was a rift between him and
TOG.
The other PDP, we had Abuja lineup and the Abia lineup, still PDP. A faction that Abia lineup broke away and became PPA, still PDP. Then, when Oji finished his tenure, he handed over to TOG, PPA, still PDP by heart, and the voice, PPA. Now, all of a sudden, there was a rift between Oji PPA and Oji PPA. TOG PPA broke away and joined the ABGA. Few minutes, they came back to PDP. This same PDP. Even at that time, the present governor of Abia State was also in PDP. So it has been PDP people either by clothing or by cap. So, but it has been long PDP was on seat. And everybody is believing that everything that is now in Abia State, including the civil servants, are all PDP. I think for the governor to properly see himself and know what he does, he believes that he could remove everything that worked with PDP. Whether it is proper, it's remained for him.
All right, we'll come back to you. Wonderful viewers, like I told you, one of us was on his way shortly before we started, and then he is right here. We are just going to take 2 seconds break to usher him in, and as soon as he comes in, issues of the moment continue. Please don't get away. Alright, wonderful viewers, like I told us, one of our guests, one of our analysts just arrived, and that is Barrister Emperor Bona. Barrister Emperor Bona is a practicing lawyer and a human rights activist. These are men that have seen it all in the field of human rights activism. Himself and St. Moses Obona. Fortunately enough, today they are sitting together to look at the issues we have at hand. Right, remember what we're talking about is the Abia State government and the government of the day. We're talking about the suspended permanent secretaries and also the panel of inquiry for recovery of Abia looted properties and fund. That's exactly what the governor is doing. And then St. Moses Obona started that and by telling us the reason for this. And having said that, Barrister Pero, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
All right, having said that, comrade,
yeah.
You had what St. Moses Obona said concerning these, whether it is proper or not proper, and he took us back to the line of history, and then what's your take on that?
Well, I think it's unfortunate where we are that civil service, which ought to be marked or remarked or known for neutrality, is now politicized, whether at the federal level, at the state level, anywhere. I do not think that there is any other work the civil service is structured to do, if not to help government execute and implement its policies. That's number one. Then number two, the civil service is also governed by the oath of neutrality. You administer that oath of neutrality, help government actualize its policy goals. Then again, when it comes to the civil service structure itself, even the commission, I think there is what they call hierarchy, and they respect that. With the decision of the governor to sack also sorry, to suspend permanent secretaries and then the head of service. I do not know whether that actually preempted the work the panel was to do. You understand? Because the panel was actually set up to look into issues of diversion and then alleged looting of public properties perpetrated in just the governorship era of OKZA. And even when I also know that if you ask me, I would say the mandate, the terms of reference of this panel, you understand, should have actually gone back to be more retrospective. You understand? Because if you look at Abia State, you see that virtually all the challenges we are having started somewhere, and that's from 1999. If you ask me, it's my humble opinion. But all things said, I think we are having a situation where a lot seems to be happening between the incumbent and the immediate past. We've here talked about the issue, the claim by the past administration that a huge sum of 24 billion naira was left in the coffers of the state, which the incumbent has come out to say no. All these things were just loan balance. Just they were looking for loan. So to me personally, I think this should not be diversionary. The government, it should not stop the business of governance. Governor Alex Oti has a lot to do, you understand, for Abians. Yes, partly it may also include recovering where necessary public properties, because if you are to be sincere here, you see that certain primary schools, certain public facilities, yes, seem to have been diverted. If I begin to mention them here, it will take the whole day. So I think while at it, the panel should also
yes, we'll come
okay.
back to the panel.
Okay.
We learn for now. But we are now looking at the suspended permanent secretaries and the HOS, and then we know these are supposed to be called civil servants. And then will the permanent secretaries? But the permanent secretaries are like the barracks: soldier goes, soldier come, barrack remains. This government will come and go. Those of them who are not yet due for retirement will remain in office. So is it proper for this suspension, or will they have in any way hindered the progress of Oti's governance?
Well, in all honesty, the governor has the powers to remove a permanent secretary. It's there in the constitution. It's one of these powers. But the problem is the suspension. Why would you suspend them? You know, it becomes a problem. Before you suspend somebody, there must be evidence that the person had done anything wrong.
Yeah.
You don't just wake up one morning and start suspending people. So the suspension should be anchored on something, and up till now he has not told us why he suspended almost all of them. So to me, it becomes a problem why you just wake up in the morning and start suspending people. This is a problem. The civil service is supposed to be non-partisan and loyal to the government. So if a civil servant is loyal to the past government, that a civil servant is a good civil servant. You understand what I'm saying? It's a good civil servant that he was loyal to the past government. So the only thing is, let the loyalty now shift to you. No civil servant can still be loyal to a government that is no longer existing. So to me, I don't understand why you suspend them, because there is not, because what I should have thought they would do is there should be an indictment. What is the indictment on your person? They cannot suspend you so that there cannot be an impartial investigation. But now there was a panel set up to recover stolen assets. The panel have already started suspending people. On what ground will you suspend them when there is no indictment on them? That's the question I will ask. Then secondly, that suspension to me is filled with so many irregularities and so many things that are not clear. You see, the only people that were left behind are two people. The wife of Uchi Konde,
yeah,
and the Kansi Yorakas, I don't know his name. This is the clerk.
Now
let us deal with the wife of Uchi Konde first. We all know the reason why the governor refused to remove him as the Solicitor General. This is a woman whose husband died, and the husband was a mate of the governor. When they worked for the election, the woman died. So to me, to be very unfair to remove her, you have lost your husband and you're also losing your job. So maybe I think that the reason why she was scared was for sympathetic grounds, which I understand. But on the issue of bureaucracy, we know the role this young man played in the election they did in the House of Assembly. You know what happened there, where they were talking about who should be the speaker. They would the Labour nominated Beroa. PDP nominated somebody for speaker who PDP the majority. Now, what happened was that the Iroquois of Emma refused to recognize the nomination of the speaker of the you all know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Of the refused to recognize the nomination of the PDP man. In the end, there was no voting. It was just like this thing, and the middle came out like that. So some people were started accusing Iroquois that he was partisan. Both even the deputy speaker, the same thing arose. The members of the House of Assembly, I called them, they told me this thing, that was exactly what happened. That there was no voting, that it was just like Labour called up somebody and the PDP called, they refused to recognize the fact that a PDP man was nominated. In the end, they just gave it to the Labour people. So to me, I feel that the reason why Kasi was left was because he played ball. He was the one that they can call it politics, but to me it was actually improper. Maybe that was why. And you also saw what happened, the issue of the majority issue, the majority speaker, the majority leader. We all know that in parliamentary proceeding, the party that has the majority of the members will produce the majority leader. That is the law. It's a material whether you're from PDP or APC. It's a material to tell me that YPP or Labour voted. You know, not everybody is qualified to be elected as a majority leader. It is not everybody in the house. The majority leader, the procedure is for the party that is in the majority to bring out one of them. One of them, they will now do election within themselves, produce a majority leader, and they will present it to General House and say the General House, this is the person we have elected as our majority leader. Then the person must be somebody who is in the majority party. You don't just come and bring anybody from anywhere and call. And what can we call majority leader? So what I'm saying is that all these things that happen, these are the area that we have problem with this government. But nevertheless, the permanent secretaries that were removed, well, as I told you, Irokasi's one appears to be because to compensate him for the role he played in the budget of the Emerowa, which is politics actually. But generally, it's within the governor's right to remove. But when it comes to the issue of suspension, the question is why suspended? What did they do?
All right, Barrister said Moses Ogbonna. Yes, I know, though you've resigned from partisan politics and political party practice. I know you've been. In fact, you held offices in the party, PDP, and so on. Now, talking about what happened in the floor of the House of Assembly, just like a barrister narrated, do you also think, like he said, if we use our normal term, the Irokasi played a ball? We understand that of Mrs. Ikone because of what happened.
The bereavement.
Yes.
You see, that is the danger in the politics we have in Nigeria. I saw a book yesterday, the jaywalking, but I don't know if you have read it. Jaywalking and something in politics. We play politics in everything. We place politics first before even the welfare of the people. We were here in this state during the time of Fortress Okada when Honorable C.A. was the speaker. And there was this faction between the PDP hat and PDP voice. How many people in the parliament removed C.A.? 8 persons. Sat. Why the majority of them went to Abuja to consult with the National Secretariat? 8 of them. I think it was still this Irokasi that was the clerk of the house. So, I think that there is, our people have mastered how to use impunity to get what they want. But the Legiwa used to say that Nigeria is now living under the unshockable period. If the Labour Party wanted to intone the majority or to have their way in the speakership, knowing that they are in the minority in the House, the proper thing to do is to before that they will go behind. Lobby. They call it lobby. And we know what goes into lobbying. I expected them, because most of these people in power, allow sycophants to advise them. And when these sycophants begin to advise them, they say, do it, nothing will happen. And when they do it, they think the people on the street, Jesus Christ, in his wisdom, Son of God, the omnipotent Son, omniscience, omnipresent, he asked his disciples, whom do people say I am? Which means Jesus Christ realized the importance of the opinion of the ordinary man on the street. If you want to install a majority leader from your party, you love it. Before that day, you use the money and caution the effect of what the elected representatives, misrepresentatives, I will use to call them, because many of them do not even represent the people. You massage them. They will cross over. I think during Okesipas, nearly every Labour elected members crossed over to PDP. Abgaden, good, Abgaden crossed over to PDP for Okesipas to have his way. You don't do things, by impunity.
They were lobbied.
They were lobbying.
Okay. All right, that's it.
So lobbying is very proper.
Okay, comrade.
Yes.
Talking about the majority, if you're talking about democracy, as it sounds with its interpretation, and then we're talking about majority leader, and it is obvious that the PDP are the majority in the House there, but they were not involved. You had how they worked out during one of their plenary.
Yes.
So so is it also proper? Suppose you talked about lobbying. Councillor Barrister also talked about the improper way which that thing was handled.
I think the constitution is not even silent when it comes to defection. You understand? On the basis of crisis, internal party crisis, is when a legislator alone, not the governor, because the governor has immunity clause. It's when a legislator is allowed to leave the political party. You don't just leave the political party. If you remember the case in Ebonyi State, where some persons who defected to APC, they had this problem, and then the constitution is actually expressed about it, that there must be internal crisis, you understand, before you migrate to the party. That is it. But then I think Council Emperor made an emphatic revelation. You see, when it comes to selection or the emergence of the majority leader, it is not the business of the whole house. It has to do with the party with the majority seats, and then we go and how best they know they produce the majority leader. And in that exercise, there is nothing like merger or alliance. Every party is treated as minority, majority, the second to majority, or howsoever. But when it comes to choosing the speaker or the Senate president, it's affair of the whole house. And I will prove it to you now. You see, you remember how Ike Ekweremadu emerged as the deputy Senate president, even when he was not of the APC. So it is the affair. Now, I do not know the basis on which you lobby to produce a majority leader. It is simple. It's as clear as day that the party with the highest number of seats should produce, and I think it is captured in the house.
In the house standing
order. Standing order.
Even when you study it in government,
it is clear. Rules number 42. It is there. Rules number 42 that the party with the highest number of seats should produce the majority leader. So I do not know, and we should be careful so that the government does not create problems. That when it comes to maybe appropriation, acts, executive bills, the PDP members will now do what? Refuse to also play ball, and the government might find a problem, because see, the PDP has you can't get to take majority consent without at least half of the people in the PDP. It's very clear. Secondly, we should also be careful that we do not throw the house in anarchy, where the National Assembly will assume the responsibility of the State House Assembly, as essentially in the Constitution. Because when the House, as the Constitution states, is unable to perform its functions, the National Assembly will take over. So I think the speaker, he has to address this, and we make sure that in trying to maybe intro Labour Party, I don't have a problem with Labour Party being the speaker or the deputy speaker, but the majority leader, even the term itself It's not laced with ambiguity, vague or opaque meaning. It is expressed. So I think the speaker should have a way to look into this, because you cannot expect PDP to produce a minority leader. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. When they are the majority, you understand? Or you will expect Labour to why PP now to produce minority when they have only 2 and then APC 1. So it is something that must be properly structured, detailed for the peace and then efficiency of legislative governance.
All right, Barrister Peru, before we go on a break, I want to ask, shortly before that time, while this was going on, the 2 candidates, the 2 House of Assembly members from the YPP said they are now supporting Labour Party, and that is why the Labour Party is now in the majority. And it was said right there and then, without their defecting to.
And they have not written to their party.
Is it proper? Yes,
no, they didn't.
They didn't say they have defected.
Let me explain to you what
they are supporting.
I happen to be a candidate of YPP for the Abia Central, and I have a relationship with those 2 YPP guys. I called one of them and I asked him. He said yes, that he voted for, that he supported Labour, the issue of minority. Yeah. And I let them know that, man, you don't have the power to do that. This is, if you do that, what you are doing is unlawful. You are a member of YPP. Labour is doing something. If yes, you can support anybody you want to support, only comes to the issue of majority leader. This is something that is an office that only PDP can occupy in the house. That's the truth. So the problem about this is that these guys are not lawyers. These guys are not lawyers. How many lawyers do you have there? I think we have only 1 lawyer there. Kelechi even called me yesterday and we discussed. So the other ones are just businessmen. You invite businessmen to come and make law. I don't understand this thing, honestly. Because for you to make law, you must have to read the law. How can you, they say that you can go to, how can you on your own say you are supporting this to do what is illegal?
It is like a Labour Party providing a leader for PDP.
For PDP. The majority party in that house is PDP.
Yeah.
No other party can ensure majority of that house except PDP. It's only PDP that can produce majority leader. Majority leader is the leader of the majority party. That is what majority leader is. So whatever YPP man tells you, he's speaking from the position of ignorance. Total ignorance. Because if these 2 guys know law, my brother Fine and Wama and Mogu, who are my colleagues too, Mogu, 2 of them, if they say that it's a mistake, they cannot. So to me, what I think is that, you see, whatever is doing in Abia State House of Assembly is a mockery of Labour Party. Labour Party came as a third force. The party that is party of P2B, the righteous party, the party that cannot make mistakes, the party that ought to be a model of how democracy should be run in Nigeria. Everybody was just hammering people, Labour, because if Labour is St. Gabriel.
Oh, St. Moses.
In the end, we're not seeing.
You didn't say, whether Labour Party St. Moses.
So what I'm actually saying is that we expected something different. Yeah. But in the end, we're not seeing that. PDP did not even do what Labour Party is doing. When PDP wanted to do a speakership, they will lobby everybody and elect a speaker. When PDP wanted to get a majority party or anything they want to do, but in this circumstance now, we see a situation whereby Labour is doing what you call illegality. That is totally wrong. You cannot elect a majority party for a majority party. So what I'm saying is, it is actually something that I never knew it could happen. That is why we are saying that let this be done the right way. You cannot be basking on the euphoria of P2B, St. P2B, and in the end you are doing what P2B will not do.
All right, before we go on break, St. Moses, now that we said the deed is done, is it going to be left that way?
You see, I don't think there is a expiring date for illegality. You see, the illegality remains illegality, whether it is done by the authorities or not. If you do something that is illegal, to enthrone yourself on position of authority remains in illegal enthronement. You see, this a matter of majority party and minority party, like he has said. Once you all are members of the house, there are areas that the totality of the members
the house,
we
yes,
have a say.
They will have a say.
Let me remind you what happened when Saraki became the president of the Senate.
Yes.
Members of the APC went to see the president.
Yes.
But because it is an issue that involves the whole house,
yes.
they were there lobbying Mr. President and Mr. President giving them instruction on whom to become the Senate president. They were there like what happened at the Third Punic War.
Yes.
When the house got on fire. And
Before they come back,
Saraki
as a match.
But when it comes to the issue of majority part,
You can't take that away.
you can't take it
That's why
away.
APC then majority one.
They were the majority.
They had the chief, we had majority, chief, we had majority. This was APC's prerogative.
All right.
Nobody can tamper with it.
Before we go, but just 2 seconds. Do you think this thing can be undone?
You mean this thing?
Yes.
Yes, it can be amicably resolved. Now, the onus lies on the speaker himself now, in the Yoruba. You understand? Whenever the house is to convert, there must be a way to look into this.
Again, they can go to court. Let me tell you. People think that issues in the house cannot go to court. It's not true. When the procedure is not followed, when the procedure is not
Especially
followed,
when the law is not silent.
the law is not
The
silent
law is
on this.
contemplative.
It's just like the issue of removal of governor. Some people say that when it's your governor, you can't remove. No, if you didn't follow the right procedure, you go. So the court can interpret whether what you did was compliant with the law.
All right, our viewers, this is a heated argument. We're going to go on a very short break. When we come back, issues of the moment, we'll continue. Remember, we are looking at Abia State and the government of the day. As we come back, we are going to look at the judicial panel of inquiry and also, the terms of reference given to them and how to recover Abia looted properties and fund. Don't go away. We'll be back shortly. Wonderful viewers, I am glad you're still there watching your favorite the living television. Remember, it's still your program, the one you love listening to. Our phone lines are open right now. Our phone lines are open right now, and you call us, tell us where you're calling us from, question or contribution, as it concerns what we are discussing today. Like I said earlier, today we'll be looking at the judicial panel of inquiry. According to the state government, they said it is focused on the recovery of Abia State assets. Ordinarily, they said the desire of this administration would have been to focus on business of governance and not going after any person, but because of public demand of the looted property and funds of the state, and that is why this panel of inquiry is set. And then let us look at the terms so that you now know. So one is to investigate complaints of government property misuse and recommend remedial actions. 2, identify illegal acquisition, conversion of state assets and suggest recovery methods. 3, analyze land allocation revocation from May 2015 to 2023, judging their appropriateness. And then 4 is a revenue contract awards from May 2015 to 2023 for legality. Then the last, investigate other matters incidental or related to the above, making further recommendations. These are the 5 things the panel will be looking at, and believing that at the end of the day, that the looted properties, lands, schools, like you mentioned, will be recovered. And they said it was not their intention to do this, but because they were compelled by the citizens, that's the Abians, to do that. That is why it wouldn't have been, they wouldn't have gone out of their way to do this, but because this is government of the people, by the people and for the people, and that is why they are doing it. St. Moses Obuna, let me start with you on this.
My only quarrel with the panel and the terms given to them is on duration. We have seen governments in Abia State, right from Ojosoka, then T.Oj, then Okezi. If we want to look at looted properties, if there were any, we have to begin from, it's a comb. When you're combing the hair, you don't look at the white hairs alone and ask the comb. When you get to where the black hairs are, you pass it by. I am thinking that I am in support of the setting up of the panel of inquiry, but the time which their mandate covers is what I think should be looked into again. A lot of things are being done or were done recklessly in Abia State, as if nobody exists. That's why I think that is what is influencing His Excellency Alex Oti to do a lot of things, as if he can snap his fingers and these things were achieved. Let him mellow down. He will achieve all these things. Let him extend the thing down to Ojosoka. If he does that, all the looted properties are not. We know the skeletons where the cupboard in which they are hidden. Mellow down. Call on the citizens. They will tell you the skeletons are looking. Can you ask me somebody by 2015 was a gate man? Gate man in this Abia State. Simply because you appointed an SA, you become a billionaire within 8 years. It's very annoying. The fragrant way they were displaying their loot. I think what he has done is correct. There are people like that in the past, from 1990 to let him extend.
All right, Barrister Pero, looking at this, a lot of social commentators have said it's just like cleaning one's anus before going to a script. Yes, these panels, you had already suspended the permanent secretaries before forming this. And then, on what basis were these other persons suspended, since the panel of inquiry had not come out with any finding?
Yes, I had already said this, that it is like a killing, it's like putting the horse before the cat. The panel, the suspension was actually proper. There should be something connecting them to the team before you suspend them. Now, when you suspend them, what are they going to do? Will they just be like that? But now let me go back to the issue of the panel that was set up. To me, that panel was actually proper. I was on air. I was invited by Uniba FM, and I stated it on air. And we're expecting Alex Oti to set up a panel that will recover Abia State's funds. The truth about it is that so many funds, so many properties, so many things belong to Abia State are in the hands of private people, and we need to recover them. We need to recover them. Now, to me, I was also on my Facebook wall, which is a very active wall. I had also stated it that the Abia State government should actually do all those things. So I am in support of whatever the governor did. Now, let me say this. My little friend, Sir Moses mentioned something at the issue as to whether they should extend it to the former government, to the listing. Now, if you look at the limitation law of Abia State, the limitation law of Abia State says that anything that is any course of action that is more than 10 years, more than 10
Sorry,
years.
Council, let's take it. Hello, this is Issues of the Moment Living Television. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from, then your contribution or question. Hello? Hello, go ahead. Well, we lost that.
Yeah.
You can also remember the 091-682-84994. You can always call while the discussion goes on.
Yes.
Hello, Living TV, your name and where you're calling us from. Network, maybe.
So what I'm saying is that you don't expect the government to extend the period more than 1993. I mean, more than 2013. They made it 2015. The reason is very clear. If government property enters your hand in 1999 and you're holding that government property to today, the law says that it has become your own property. I hope you understand that. That is what we call statute of limitation. Statute of limitation says that there is no cause of action that can arise over an action that happened more than 10 years ago. You know what I'm talking about. Maybe you have not affected your particular fact. Because let me tell you something. People don't just walk into government property. The governor assigned this property to them. There are transfer of title from the government to the individual. The individual is enjoying this property. All of a sudden, you take it away from him. You take it away from him.
Hello?
Maybe the speaker is having a problem. So what I'm saying, understand me very, very well, that every property of the government that is in private hand, which has stated it's gone more than 10 years, even if the governor decides to revoke it, then the other one will always raise an objection that that governor will always argue that this is something that has been controlled by the limitation law.
Hello?
What's the problem? Go ahead, please.
So in conclusion, what I'm saying is that I am in support of what the governor did in the establishment of that people. Now, it should not just stop at a fact finding. When they do their finding, they should bring it to the government. Anybody who is seen to be holding a property should be made to return it. If you cannot return it, the government should acquire it back and take it back. And if the person refuses to do anything, the person should go for prison for stealing, because this is a misappropriation, corruption, and all these things.
Just the 1 minute before I go to government, there's something you mentioned there. That what you're saying is that those of them who also, either by whatever means, had government property in their coffers.
Yes.
Since 1999.
Yes.
Those ones are gone.
Yes, if you have government property by 1991, it is the duty of the government to have done something about it. Government refused to do anything. All of a sudden, in 2020, you are coming to remember it's your property. You are a lawyer now. Your lawyer knows it now. If I have a property and it's in my custody, after 10 years, if you sue me, I will raise the limitation. I will raise the limitation that the law says that you cannot sue me over an action that happened more than 10 years. Because I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
The limitation law applies in this thing. That is the reason why it is not good to go too far. 2015 is it's time that they can even say 2014 or 2013, but anything more than 2013 cannot work, because the limitation law will protect the person who is having the property. So it is for the government to look and see Bazoto has done something to recover those who stole Don Shekalo, or government of Tiyoji to recover those who stole Don Shekalo or Tiyoji. But if they keep quiet and if I have a property for 10 years, and assuming I'm entered to your land 10 years, you now sue me, because government cannot just use the executive fiat to take over things. Those people go to court. If I have a property and this government property, and you now government use a fiat to revoke my land, I will go to court. I will raise the limitation law. That my lord, that this thing happened 10 years ago. I've been in possession of this property for the past 10 years, and nobody can get out. You cannot at this time. If I bring everything that it was T.O.J. that gave it to me, or T.O.J. that gave it to me. I remember when T.O.J. was doing this thing, he was doing it based on his powers as the governor. Yes. He has the powers based on the land use act to do allocation. He did it. He's not saying that the allocation he did did not follow the law, or it was brought in bad faith. But legally speaking, both the things that Kosi Basu gave out and the things T.O.J. gave out and the things that Oshakanu gave out, they were done pursuant to his powers or their powers and the governor, which presumption of regularity favors them. So these guys are protected by the law, that whatever the governor does by virtue of that time, that the governor is working based on the powers within his power. So if the governor was exercising a power pursuant to his rights as the governor of the state, now if a third party is saying that it was not properly done, the person must come tirelessly. The law says equity does not aid the indolent but the vigilant. So you cannot attack the title of that person more than 10 years because he has a grant of action to go back to court and get it back. So if the governor says, let's take back what T.O.J. gave out, and the other person raised objection, file a case in court. My lord, I've been in this property for the past 10 years. Nobody challenged my title. All of a sudden, unless it is challenging it, that once the law look at the limitation law, the law will tell you that you cannot commence an action or you cannot take anything that over because of action that arose 10 years ago.
All right. Comrade,
yes.
you've had it, you're sitting between two lawyers.
Yes.
Now, we all are Abians. And then thinking about, there is a particular primary school that has been rumored, a lot of social commentators are talking about
exactly.
that was handed over or given out by the immediate past administration to a particular person. Looking at that, even if that one exceeds that number of 10 years, is it not recoverable?
Well, council has actually established that, you understand, with his knowledge of the law. He has said, he talked about statute limitation, that there are cases. You remember very well in America, there was a particular case, I think Trump or who enjoyed because it was statute bad. You understand?
And let me just say before you continue, with the issue of Tinubu, the issue that the Tinubu did was convicted in the US. The law says that a conviction that arose more than 10 years cannot be a ground to disqualify a candidate. Is that in the constitution now? So the law does not just, you don't just wake up any day and start doing something. You have to consider how many years of the law says that you can do something. Yes, I continue.
Okay, so I think having said that, it now points to something why every government fights hard to make sure that his own or his person succeeds him, because there are illegalities they don't want to be interrogated. Now, okay, is at the heat of it. In fact, it's really not the heat because he did not begin this perpetration of ugly thing. You understand? They were there before him, and I will tell you something. You see, the problem we're talking about, the issue we have now is that following the Civil War, government thought it wise to acquire schools and some other facilities. But I think Governor Theodore Ahmed tried to reverse that, gave back schools and then to missionaries, where St. Joseph's went back to the Catholic, or Ngwa High School. Some schools belong to community. Ngwa High School is for Ngwa people. You understand? Igbo National High School was built by Igbo State Union of old. You understand? Now they tried to give back these schools to the owners before. But unfortunately, I wouldn't know about the paperwork and how that was done. Now, when Governor Alex Oti, before he even took over, he made an announcement. He said, people, we are cutting away gadgets like laptop, air conditioner, you understand, sensitive things, equipment. And in fact, he was particular about teaching hospital. Now, the response from the former governor's head then was that those things were procured with private money. Who does that? That's the question. So you are in public office and you are buying AC to furnish public office and gen sets, power generating sets to furnish. Then if you talk about procurement, won't the law assume each place and then indict this person? So I think the panel, like is timeless. But I don't think it should be a diversionary politics or something that will make Governor Alex Oti not to focus on delivering the deliverables. You understand? Now that actually said again, I think the question about 10 years or not, and I think I'll be referring it back to council. You see, what we're talking about, some of these things, I love them for obvious reasons. Contract award. And I want to say something here. Why is it that each time a governor becomes elected, his son begins to own construction company or his brother? And we know it happened with these things. You know what I'm saying? Even if you have to take it back to 10 years, and I know it will affect a certain governor and his son. Why will a governor be elected and his son begins to have construction company? Why will, because I have, on that society platform, I have supervised constituency projects, and I see that in fact virtually all the senators, including those ones that go to Abia to sound vocal and facilitators. If I tell you what I saw in the paper, so indicting. Some of them were empowering people with chips. I mean, young birds. We are empowering people with chips. So it is so maddening and then so saddening that these things are happening and nobody is interrogating them. And I think it should be a way to go for even if Otis should finish his business and go, other people who are also there should also interrogate him. And then it brings me to something. Even Alex, who is also doing this thing, what we're talking about is what recovery of government assets and everything. Has he publicly declared his own assets?
That's a big question. All right, St. Moses Obunna, looking at this, we're talking about Abia State and the government of the day. Shortly before Oti was sworn in, he promised heavily that he was going to offset all the arrears, salaries, and so on. And also he said before 28th of every month, on or before 28th of every month, salary. As we speak, a particular section of the civil servant have received now. So how do we look at that?
That's answer and see whether I can talk. I mean,
Hello? Hello? Yeah, hello.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Your name and where you're calling us from?
I agree with counsel in the studio.
Huh? Go ahead.
You see
Yes.
the issue of payment of salaries. But before that, I want to say something on the limitation law. I do not think that the reason, the area I am supporting the panel is for us to know where and what our leaders have done with the properties of Abia State.
Exactly.
Get us where our properties are. Let us know that the person that is holding it is holding it now because of the limitation law he's talking about. But I know very well that it is improper for you to revoke a public property and give it to a private for a private purpose. But let there be enough.
Sorry. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Your name and where you're calling us from?
Yes, am I on to TV?
Living TV, issues of the moment. Go ahead.
Yes, I want to agree with the council in the studio. Yeah, the limitation law does not apply to crime. If you assuming it is found through investigation that you subtracted government property, the government can prosecute at any time. The limitation law he's talking about does not apply to the issue at hand. You understand? So let me quote the limitation law of what I said that applies to the outcome of the panel of inquiry. That is my contribution.
what's asking his name?
Okay, what's the name, please?
Hello?
What's the name? Your name?
Hello?
What's your name and where are you calling us from?
Let me clear this thing. He directed it back to me.
Yes.
Sir, I know you're listening to me very well. If a governor uses his powers to issue a CFO to you over a private property and you are holding it, where is the crime? So Moses, you're a lawyer. Is there a crime?
We are talking about public
Public property. I'm coming. You don't need to be a lawyer to understand what I'm saying. The governor was acting pursuant to his powers as the governor, and he allowed a public property to be transferred to private hands. That other hand must have paid something, and a lawyer to one big man in Abia. Last week, we even went to pay what do you call it, not annual rent, land rent to the government, to the Ministry of Lands, no more. This is a property that was, but the man was issued CFO, and I'm his lawyer, and I want to pay. Now, assuming somebody comes up tomorrow to revoke that thing, how will they arrest my client? You can't arrest my client because he has not committed any crime. Let the person who called understand what I'm saying. When the governor was assigning property of people to, like land, all these things to it, or leaving cars, the governor says, take this car, go, and you take it. Where is the crime? If you arrest me, I will tell you that I was working pursuant to executive powers. It is different from when I stole. If I stole laptop or I stole plants, this is a crime, which statute of limitation. But I don't know. I don't think that what that law set out to set was laptop and the generator. That's those things. That's the intention of that. What about real assets? So my brother, that's why I wanted to find out your name. As a lawyer, you should know that if you bought a property belonging to government, where is the crime? One, can you steal land? As a lawyer, you are taught that land use act. Yes,
vested all
the property governor
in the governor, except now that there is a conditionality. The conditionality is that when there is a naturally occurring resource.
No, yes, that was under the Minerals Act.
Yes.
The exception is the law says it's a deemed right, but there is no exception really. Every land belongs to the governor. The governor holds every land in trust, and he gives it to you. Now let me tell you something. The law says that land is incapable of being stolen. You cannot steal land because land is a fixed asset. The law is that for you to steal something, you must have taken it. Yes. You can't take land.
You must have.
You have moved it. So what I'm saying is that the law that called is that if I am the owner of a property given to me by Justice Okano, who was the governor at that time, and I used it, on what can you persecute me? You can't persecute me because there is no crime anywhere. There is no crime because you can't steal land. What you can only do is to recover the land from me. And since you know that recovery is a matter of law, I will raise the issue of limitation. That I have been in possession of this land for the past 10 years. You saw me, you kept quiet. You can, even not only that, I will also raise the issue of property estopel. This land goes to you. I started building that land. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And you didn't raise objection. After I had built 10-story building, 20 years after, you now remember it's your land. You are sleeping over your right. You see what I'm saying? So law is interwoven. Limitation law applies stricto sensu on this issue. That was why they had to limit it, because there is a time you take it to be a mockery.
So what you're saying that Governor Oti's panel of inquiry intervention is timely.
It's timely, but I am saying we should know what the leaders did. If we go by what the limitation law is saying, it means you can escape.
After
if Alex Otti finishes his tenure and Labour Party, Labour Party person comes, that means every improper thing Alex Otti has done
will be covered.
So let us extend this to so that it will be known by Abians that during the tenure of such person. I remember when this BCA radio something at Okulumo was given away by some military men. A certain administration came and recovered it. You understand? Because it is a government property. So if we are going by the limitation, it means the limitation law will aid us to give away government property.
It's true now. It's true, but that's why the law.
Period.
Yeah, that is why the law says equity aids the vigilant and not the indolent. If your property is stolen, a new government should set up a committee that should start investigating what happened to the property and recover them. If you allow somebody to have the property for 10 years, 20 years, the man builds a skyscraper there, enjoying the property, all of a sudden you woke up from sleep. Hey, that land belongs to my father. That land belongs to my father. The law will ask you, where were you all these 20 years when this man was enjoying this land? There's what we call property estopel. There's what we call laches and acquiescence. The lawyer, laches and acquiescence. You enter my property, You start building, I see you, I fold my hands. I say, Ola, man, after 20 years, I will not tell you.
You will even be reciting only one.
I think that's the way they say they say
yes. I use this principle. There's a case. Let me tell you something. There's a case I did last 3 months. One dossier Kedife, you know him on as a chairman. He filed a suit against my client at those that Ikone Street in Abia. He sued the entire street, almost 20 people, sued all of them. He asked the court to declare him to be the owner, that he bought the property in 1967. His lawyer is Barrister Mas, you know Barrister Mas. His lawyer is 1967. He brought CFO, he brought a document of land, everything, tendered it in court. So that even before the war, that this property, the whole of Ikone Street, you know Ikone Street over here, near you know hotel, here this hotel now, his hotel, that it was his property. They went to court. In the end, Justice Onyabo ruled that, agree with me, that where was Ikone since 1977 that he bought his property? He got CFO. Some of these who bought this property after the war, they have been in possession of that property since 1970. Some of them built 7-story, 3-story building there, 2-story. It is not that you remember that the property is your own. The court so that you cannot do that. That although you have established your legal right, but the law of equity will not allow you to chase out these people who have been in possession for the past 30 years.
And to your notice.
To your notice. You remember them, and you know what happened? They didn't even go. He sued. Does he sued Solomon Ikone, who was the Ngwa man. He didn't even sue the people that own the land. He went and sued the Ngwa man, and Ngwa man has sold his property. So what I'm just saying is the law is clear. Okay. Either state property in the hand of people 20 years ago, it becomes difficult to take them back. Because the question is, where were you all these years when these were enjoying rights and you refused to do something?
All right, I'm sure our caller, I'm sure you had that to be clarified. These are lawyers, and I'm happy they are here also today to ensure they, put this thing very, very clear. He is not saying that if you have stolen or by any chance, the governor of the state, when Okeze was not a governor, he never assigned any of these things to anybody.
Yeah.
He now did that as a result of his office and position as the governor of the state. And if it is anything illegal about it, this coming administration can work with it because it's not up to 10 years yet. Yeah. But this one that has lasted for more than 10 years, that's what he's talking about. That those ones, there's nothing anyone can do about it. All right, away from that.
The issue of salary.
Yes, that's where we are now.
Yes, I know everybody's waiting for it. You see, I cannot blame Alex Oti. Because Alex Oti was making promises of what he will do when he comes in. He never adverted his mind on what he will make, whether it will be the environment will enable him do what he had promised Abians. Let me tell you, I know very well there is a verification exercise going on before they pay me. You remember we had this problem of ghost workers.
Yes.
People whose sons and daughters are in overseas and they are earning salaries in Abia State. And if you do not do a physical verification, my brother, if you do it 20 times without physical verification, those people will go in. Maybe that was the reason why he removed the hates, some of the hates, because they were the people who protect this ghost worker A, ghost worker B. The day they came to us, I was there physically. If you do not come, forget your salary. And they use the particular month salary schedule. If they call you, are you Emperor Moon? I say yes. They say, head, do you know him? Yes. Staff, do you know him? Yes. They take you. That is what had delayed, I think, contributed to the delay of payment of salaries. Not that he has deliberately.
But I think to that must be added the fact that Governor Alex Oti never knew. You understand? It was going to be
like that.
A bit tough. You understand? Yes. And I want to quote an extract from his own release. He said the past or the immediate past administration gave him a toxic handover atmosphere.
Yes.
He said something like that, meaning that. In fact, from what he was saying, there was no money in the coffers of the state. And then the so-called 24 billion naira claimed, and then other millions of dollars claimed that they were all loan. The persecution was actually skipped. But then that would also bring to something. And when that loan was actually approved, the former governor issued a statement. And I was asking a question. This is a loan the state is paying back. And there's one thing about loan we all should educate our viewers. You are borrowing at a difficult time when naira is depreciating, dollar is gaining. You borrow either in dollar or in naira. You pay back in the borrowing currency. You understand? Which also weakens your currency. I do not know why administration is celebrating loan that you incur the debt for this state, and you're also celebrating it.
They are celebrating it.
You don't have to celebrate it.
You
have to look at. See, the problem I have with this government is that failure to look inwardly and generate revenue. I have seen Abia State claim that they get only 2 billion naira monthly. Only Abia can give you more than that, and that is why I'm also urging this new governor to spread the tax net. I'm not saying introduce new taxes. I'm saying spread the tax and make sure
survive by stopping the revenues.
Yeah,
That was another.
No, he didn't stop it. What he just did was to suspend principal officers, people who were taking money from the states.
Yes.
He now wants to start his own. There's no way he can stop revenue now. What are those revenues are provided by law? ASAPA fees are provided by law. Infrastructure levy. You know what I'm saying now? There are laws.
1 month now, there has not been any revenue paid.
It is good. It is good. But let me tell you something. I was on air last week and I mentioned it that the governor should not take up this loan of $115 million that is coming.
Yeah.
We don't need this loan. Let us manage ourselves.
Who said?
Eh?
You need the loan.
No, we don't. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
This is the reason why the country is where it is today. People will tell you that Buhari, understand me now, you will say your own. People will tell you that Buhari should collect those loans. In the end, Ahmed Lawal was approving every loan. Today, Nigeria is owing trillions of naira. Nigeria is owing billions. Other states is now, according to the LSO, is owing 200 billion naira. Now, adding to this $115 million that they're owing, how much will be owing? Now, how will we pay all this money? Now, let me tell you, he that goes and borrowing, goes and sorrowing is an old law. Let me tell you something. The federal government said that they are no longer paying subsidy. You know what it means? It means that there will be more money for the state government to share.
To share.
To
even do infrastructure.
And then let Alex forget about that's money. Let him forget about that money. That's 150. You don't need it. Let him leave it at that account. Rather, let him wait. The revenue allocation, federal allocation is going to increase. We are going to have enough money to pay our debts. If you stop paying this subsidy, my brother will have a lot of money. Let him. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Please, let me come in. Why I said Alex Oti needs the loan. We don't take loan to pay salaries.
You take loan to build infrastructure.
To build infrastructure. And we need these infrastructures to build Abia. If Alex Oti is waiting for revenue allocation before he can,
Take off.
all those things he has promised Abians,
I want to come in.
it will
I
not
want
be
to interject.
possible.
And it's very
He will
important.
be deceiving himself.
Is-
We need these infrastructures, we need good roads, we need good markets, we need to attract investors into this place. It is what he should.
You see, there is something
All
about
right,
loans.
before we take the answers because of our time.
You have hard loan and soft loan. Now, hard loan may go with double-digit interest, which you will not be able to amortize. I'm saying it, I understand this terrain. At the end of upon maturity, you will now go for the structure. It happened to Buhari with ways and advances. You now start talking about 10 more years, 20 more years. You have to be careful whether it is soft loan or hard loan.
So no, let me just say this now. See, I understand what you're saying very well, but let me tell you something. A prudent man can always manage with what you have. Me personally, I can boast to the world that I'm not indebted to anybody and I am comfortable in life. I have learned how to plan. Alex Oti was a bank executive, and at least for me, he did well when he was Diamond Bank. Let him utilize that expertise and manage the state. We don't need an addition to our loan burden.
All right.
Another state.
All right, I want us to look at this very point before we call it a day for the day. Alex Oti and his government said they had a very hostile handover with many assets inaccessible and operations starting from ground zero public funds, public lands and institutions, including schools, were not spared from conversion to private use. And then that is why this panel is it. And then they are very serious to ensure that these things are recovered. That is the essence of these. That is the essence of this panel.
Yes.
And this emphasizes the need for this inquiry accountability as advocated by the citizens, not by the government themselves. Let me start with you on this.
Yes, it is not to be wished away. I don't want to start enumerating, mentioning schools. In fact, my alma mater, we are still on it. A primary school, a community primary school was actually built inside National High School, and that's not the original plan. You understand? So who gave out that land? And unfortunately, that school, in fact, there is an encroachment from individuals we don't even know. This time, they don't even need approval from any government. People just go about and then act as if there are no laws. Then again, you see, it is in this country that people leave office and they go with government vehicles. Whether there is a law saying pay money or just anything in exchange, but people do all sorts of things. Now, I have seen that part of this committee, this panel is actually looking into is very, very crucial. Like I did mention, issue of contract. When people become elected, their relatives start owning construction companies. It has been happening in this state, and I'm not sure it is letting up yet. Now, the most important thing is this very panel must be fearless. It must be willing to spill the beans, to name names, and it must also be willing to educate Abians the proportion and the size of loot each individual has come up with. Then finally, I'm not expecting to see a committee review this committee again. Yes, it happens often here. After a panel, you now begin to talk about white paper. You now begin to talk about committee, reviewing the committee. So I think everything they have done must be accessible for future reference.
All right, Council, just 45 seconds because of our time. Now, there is also alleged that even the popular Wilcox here, that
yes,
part of it is also sold, and these are, I think these are
Even technical.
So that is what
those
is
are
Even
not.
the street, even the hospital.
so many others. So, what do you think on that? And then talking about these are known government properties.
Maintained with public tax.
Yes. Now, let me tell you something. Those properties that were taken were actually belonging to the people, and they have to be taken back. We are aware of the issue of vehicles. We are aware of certain political. We are aware of so many properties that were in the hands of people. The law says they can be taken back. It's a matter of just government revoking the right of allocation. The government will revoke it. Once the government is sure that it is the private use, the government will revoke it. But let me tell you something else. There's another problem there. Those people that you have those properties, they also have the right to go to court. They can see that governments are about to revoke their land. They will go to court, and they will tell you that this is. Now let me tell you something. Let me explain to you something that you need to know as a layman, so you can understand this thing very well. I'm coming. This is very, very important to you. What I'm about to say now is very, very important for you to understand it. If a property is a property of the government or property of the people, the governor has the powers to give that property to another person, but not for private purpose.
Okay.
A governor can say this empty land belongs to the school, just like what happened in Emba Road. The government can decide to use that land at Tungwa Secondary School, and say we want this to be the market. Just like what happened in Abia, Abia Mall. I'm aware that is a PPP, private public partnership, upon which some people bought shops there. So if this land A belongs to everybody, is the government property or the general property, the governor can say, I want to use this thing to give to Emperor Nigeria Limited, who I have a partnership with, to build markets there. The government will now build markets. Just tell me. Okay. And that market will now be for everybody. So what I'm saying is, government can decide to use private property, public property for public purpose. But where there is evidence that the government gave that land to an individual, it becomes a problem. The law says that you cannot use public property and give it to private person. Then another way, there's a converse. If it is private property, assuming governor doesn't like me, and say, this man belongs to the emperor is only criticizing me, then the governor will now revoke my right and use it and give it to the person. Yes. The law says no. But if the governor decides to use my private property to give to the to build a market, to build something for the public, it's acceptable. But the law says that there must be two conditions. One, the law says that there must be notice of acquisition by the governor, notice of revocation. Governor must write to me, revoking my deemed right. It is not only CFO. What is called deemed right? All the land you have is your land, whether you're having CFO or not. We call it deemed right. The governor have to revoke my deemed right, your deemed right. After the governor have revoked your deemed right, the governor will now give it to a third party who will use it for public purpose. The governor cannot revoke your deemed right and give it to Mr. Lekwachi, who is his supporter. So you see that there are laws regulating all these things.
All right. Okay, St. Moses, before we go. Now, talking about this, there was something that the state parent mentioned here. And that if most of these people paid a certain amount of money, whether it is individuals or not, to government, for them to acquire these places, what happens if these properties are
there will
recovered?
be a revocation.
Okay.
The government, that is what he said, the law is looking at whom you are removing it from and whom you are giving it to. For what purpose? These things must be considered. If you are
compensation too. If you take it from me, you have to compensate me.
That's exactly.
Yes. So if you are removing it from me because I am not your party person, I'm giving to you because you are his party person.
It's illegal.
It's illegal. Again, if it is like the Wilcox you have mentioned, it's a public property. You can remove it and give to emperor, who is a private person. You can also use that place for public purpose. Let's say market or hospital. But not giving it to a private person. Those are the things the panel is said to go and review to find out what property was removed from whom to whom for what purpose.
Just this one last question. I just last one question. Let's take for instance that of Wilcox, and it is given to an individual, not for public anything, and it's given to an individual, and then the person may have paid a token amount of money.
Even as primary school.
Yes.
Primary school.
All these other public places.
Yeah.
So what happens to that individual?
That's a simple now. I've answered it now. Once it is established that it was given to individual, the government can take it back.
What about the money the person paid?
He lets him settle with whoever. He can also sue the government and get back his money. Okay. If he paid money to the government, he can also sue the Abia State government and get back his money. Because it was an illegal contract. That's what you call illegality of contract. Not every contract is enforceable. If you take a private property, public property, and give it to a private individual, it becomes an illegal transaction which can be revoked. The law says that when it is illegality, there are two things that happen. If it's kind of grossly illegal, it's kind of illegality it is. Some illegality, you don't get back your money, but some illegality, the law will say that you cannot benefit from an illegality. So government cannot benefit from an illegality. So government have a duty to return the money to that person.
All right, our wonderful viewers, this is the much we are going to take today. I am glad you've been there all this while, though a heated argument, but I think we learned a lot from this. And having said that, from my far left, I have Barrister St. Moses Obonna. St. Moses Obonna, we are pleased to have you in the studio today.
I'm happy with that scent. Very, very happy.
Yeah, the barrister. I'm happy with that one.
And Barrister Emperor Obonna, we are very glad to have you here today.
Yes, then like you said, my own is also, I'm also the chief. I am only the of it.
So okay. You are happy
Chief
with
Barrister.
Okay.
Chief Barrister Emperor Obonna, Abia Zubada. All right, and our tele-evangelist, Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi, we are pleased to have you today.
I'm happy, I'm okay with complaint.
Thank you, our wonderful viewers. Keep watching other programs of the Living Television. I am your command, Chinedu Madiele. We'll be back some other time. Keep watching Living TV. Bye for now.